So let's get back on the Up Yours New York Express.
Let's get
and
it.
We're gonna take off and land that plane back in Boston here, and talk about the latest piece of Patriots news that dropped this morning, and that was the fact that Stephon Gilmore is no longer a New England Patriot. He is no longer with the Patriots. He belongs to the Carolina Panthers now. The Patriots getting back a 2023 sixth-round pick. Shocking. I was losing confidence that he would return every kind of week that went by. The longer the time that went by, the less confidence I had that he would be coming back. Now, I had said a couple of earlier on a few episodes ago, JD. Remember, I had said something to the point of where I didn't think it was really injury related. I think this was more of a contract negotiation ploy, and I think it was just too I think Gilmore and the Pats just couldn't see eye to eye. I just think they couldn't see eye to eye. I think it was I don't think it's injury. I think honestly, I think Gilmore is fine injury wise. I think he's recovering fine, or he's even better. I think they put him in that spot to see if they could work negotiations out. And when it became clear to Belichick that him and Stephon and Gilmore weren't going to see eye to eye, Bill did him a solid and just he let him go. He let him go to a different team. He let him go to a different team. And I just think like the NFL nowadays, dude, it's these guys realize that there's an expiration date on these guys, so it's the you see more and more nowadays, like business decisions start coming into play. Like Stephon put out a really good letter to the fans and letter to the organization, and it didn't seem like there was any ill will. It was just I just think they couldn't come to an agreement. I think Stephon thought he was worth more money to than Bill did, and they tried to work it out, and Bill just wasn't gonna possibly Bill just wasn't gonna budge. Now you can add in the fact we're the Patriots trying to trade him from the start, or maybe his injury was worse than initially thought,
or both,
or all three, or all three reasons could be considered. But to me, I just think it's a business thing. I think they tried to see eye to eye, and it just didn't happen. And Bill didn't want to like the same thing with Brady. Brady and Bill tried to see eye to eye, and it just wasn't going to happen. Brady and Bill were in two different spots in their mind frame on where the team needed to be, and he let Brady go. He let Stephon go. That's, I mean, Ross, I'll move over to you. What do you think? I mean, that's kind of just how I look at it.
So I have three major thoughts on this trade. So the first thing a lot of fans don't realize is contract negotiations are awful.
They're tough, dude. They're really tough.
And what we don't see, the behind the scenes stuff is that we don't know how stringent Stephon Gilmore's contract is. The problem being is that if he structured it accordingly, his trade clause could be his choice of team and whether or not he wants to be traded. So first and foremost, considering that he's coming back from injury, he's getting over his 30s. The sixth round pick is not great, but it's also we could have gotten nothing either. Next part is we don't have many trade partners in the NFL. So again, what we want to remember here is
not a lot of teams like us, Ross. Let's be realistic. Not a lot of teams are willing to because they know who we are. They know what happens to players that come here. Bill puts them in a spot to succeed, and they they blow up.
Well, and here's the other issue is let's take money and contract off the table. Like, can we make our secondary work without Gilmore? Absolutely. We've shown it through multiple games. The secondary has not been the problem by any means. So we have a star player we can't afford, and at the end of the day, he's getting into his 30s. Like, I love Gilmore as much as anyone. I have a jersey of his. But at the end of the day, we need to establish trade partners, number one. Number two, we needed at least some sort of pick to bulk up our line situation. And the last point is we're making space for an acquisition. What we need right now, as Phil has said in the comments multiple times, and I think on other shows as well, is the fact we need a tackle, and we might need an extra running back to shore up with all the injuries we're just keep happening. Because we have JJ, we have Harris, we have Ramondre, and we keep having to cycle them out. I think there's a trade on the horizon that we needed that space for. And that opens us up to, what was it, 10 million?
I think it opens 10 million up in cap space for the Pats.
Yeah, including the 80 grand that we were under the cap space. So again, I feel like we're going to grab a middling tackle to help us get us through the season, since Trent Brown can't stay healthy for more than a week. So again, my point is
that dude can't pull a muscle. That dude farts and pulls a muscle.
So what I'll say to the fans here is, don't look at just the trade as the face value. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that are going to be a definite advantage for this football club. Keep that in mind as we go forward, because we weren't going to be able to afford him. We couldn't afford $20 million for this guy. We would have had to get rid of a bunch of pieces that essentially holding onto a player we don't exactly need right now. That's my opinion.
JD, what do you think?
I would say this, that if you take Tom Brady, the greatest player of all time, 7 rings, 6 with your franchise, if you take him to the fourth quarter and with 5 minutes left, you don't know who's going to win the game, then you probably don't have secondary issues. There's probably a chance that your secondary problems are they're minuscule at best. Because Tom Brady, if you have a bad secondary, he will exploit the shit out of it. So I will say that that Belichick looked at that and said, okay, all right, Gilmore, see ya. I'm not going to pay anymore. I don't need you anymore. My young guys clearly got this, because you guys went to the wire against Brady, man. It was to the wire. So I don't see them having a problem. Yeah, J.C. Jackson. That's how I said that right, didn't I? J.C. Jackson. Yeah, he was great. He was amazing. Him and Evans were having battles, and then Brown and him. It was then he was in the middle he was bouncing all over the place. He was a player. So yeah, who needs Gilmore?
The secondary made the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look one-dimensional.
The Patriots secondary made it miserable for the Bucs receivers all night. They were all over him. They played great.
All they had was checkdowns.
It was a good game.
All they had was checkdowns, and that's the only way you can beat Tom Brady. We almost did. -1.
Oh, in the red zone too.
Yep.
Without Gronk, he was with that secondary without Gronk.
But they already have a solid tight end other than Gronk. You got that young big kid.
Catch for shit. He dropped like 4 passes.
Cameron Brate's a big
he was bad
though.
Yeah,
he was terrible that game.
But we were popping guys at the line.
Yeah,
we weren't doing it in any other game, because they were hitting that young kid at the line and throwing him off his routes from the start.
Yeah, and he couldn't handle it.
We've been screaming about it, Bobby and JD.
Yeah. So
you're right.
So let's kind of stick with the Pats here, right? Let's stick with the Patriots. The Pats have got to continue this momentum that they have from the Bucs game. The great showing that Mac Jones had, the secondary once again stepping up. They have to continue this momentum going forward. This is an important game coming up against the Texans, because this is a team that the Patriots should beat. If they lose this game, Mac Jones, for his cause, has got to prove that he can go out, sling it, and win a game, and have a good game. Just for this game's important for Mac Jones's confidence. They need this win for him. On top of it all, and they need the win for Jones's confidence. He's got to show out, and I want to see the Mac Jones that I saw in the Tampa Bay game just roll completely into the Texans game, and like the same. I want to see the same game plan too. The tight ends were involved. Everybody. Jones was very Brady-esque, where it was throwing.
He was accurate.
He was throwing the football. There was no kind of favorite target. It was just a dart to whoever was open. It was a dart to whoever was open, which that is the key to a good court. It's you find the open guy and you just put a dart on it. You throw a dart to him and let him do his thing. And the touchdowns to Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith were perfectly thrown. They were great. Like, we have got to stay with that. Stay, with the tight ends involved in the game plan. And the Patriots need to beat this team by double digits or more, double digit win, because the Texans are not a good football team.
They need to regain their confidence.
They are not a good football team. We should absolutely. The Patriots, even in a weakened form, with the line banged up and with the running back situation, we should still beat this team. But I'm curious to.